be fun?
Well, it might be fun for you, but I don't think it's going to be fun for me and Keith, right?
Keith Pompey, I've been watching you on fire on Facebook. You were not a fan of what you saw on Thursday Night Football last evening, were you, sir?
Me no habla inglés.
So Keith, I don't know if you were listening to the prior interview, but that could not have been a better response because we just had on an Australian baseball manager who learned how to speak Spanish.
And so we asked him what things sounded like in Spanish when he was saying it to players. Keith, I'm going to get to the baseball, but I can't let you and Jeff go. And I'm not.
But here's the problem. So, Keith, every Friday show starts with Jason asking me if I watch Thursday Night Football.
And normally
the answer
he can
is
say no.
Always no. And today I wish the answer was no. I don't know about you, but I can't take another 0-2 start. 5 in a row is enough.
Keith, I know you stayed up to watch it, too. Jeff, on the other hand, just stopped replying to my text messages at some point.
Oh, no, I was responding to Keith's. I just wasn't responding to yours.
Keith, what happened, man? I thought you guys had it.
Hey, when the doubt creeped in when Danny Slugs, Danny Dimes, when Danny Dimes had that breakaway touchdown. And I'm like, yeah. The next thing I'm like, yo, why they at the 20? Why they at the 20, right? And then when the guy dropped the wide open touchdown,
I thought of you and Jeff when that ball was dropped. I was like, oh, I got Keith on tomorrow.
Yeah. By the way.
But
Keith and I were texting each other. I wasn't responding to you.
Probably about me, and I wasn't going to let you guys hear the end of it.
Yeah. Well, it's the funny part is like the thing is the Giants may be the most undisciplined football team on any level. Like I'm talking about pee-wee, high school, college, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But the Redskins are just trash, in my opinion. They're just a horrible football team. And the fact that, it took a penalty, one touchdown call back, another touchdown dropped, and a guy going offsides on the last play of the game for you to be able to get a game-winning kick. I don't know if I should be happy or I should just rip up like my Giants poster. You know what I mean? It's just.
Wait, you have a Giants poster?
But that tells you how bad the Redskins are, huh?
You have a Giants poster?
I have. It is not really a poster. But I have this is how weird it is. You remember when we made that? Well, the Giants made that catch. Tyree made that catch in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have the Sports Illustrated cover framed, and so it's not really it's a cover. It's not a poster, but it's framed, and I'm like, dude, where is David Tyree?
Wait.
We're talking David Tyree.
Yeah, more importantly, how many people now who complained about Eli Manning want him back?
Me?
well, look, I'll be honest. As an Eagles fan, I love the Eli face, so you can have him back too. No problem at all there. Keith, before we get to the basketball, I will let you go off a little bit about the start of the season for the Dallas Cowboys as well, because I know how much you enjoy giving your critiques of them.
Well, here's the thing. Like, so everyone knows, like, let's be real, and Jeff has to be honest too. We know that the Giants are going to struggle. Everyone does. But I think what I do is I just try to have fun, and I make fun of everyone's team, right? Now, I enjoy getting into it with the Eagles fans. I enjoy getting into with the Cowboys fans because they partake in it, the back and forth. The ones I don't really like are the Redskins fans because they're like quieter than church mouse, right? When church mice, like before the game. And then whenever they win their fifth game, they're like, oh, wow. Like, they think that Dexter Manley is playing or somebody like that. You know what I mean? They bring it back. So those are the ones I don't like. Like, you go into the game, people joke about Danny Dimes. We talk about the defense always playing prevent. But we know that. But we just want to have fun and we get into a back and forth. But, so, yes, I make fun of the Cowboys fans. I make fun of the Eagles fans. But it's all just unjust. The Redskins fans are the ones who, they don't have any faith in their team, But after they win that fifth game, it's like, let's have a parade and let's gloat until 2 days later because they're scared because they know everybody's preparing for the next team.
Usually when they win their fifth game, there's only 1 or 2 games left, too.
We had overreaction weekend here in Philadelphia. We won 1 game, and all of a sudden,
Super Bowl.
the best team ever.
Jalen Hurts, MVP.
I'm not going there, but they are going to be better than I think I thought they were.
Well, they'll be better than the Giants in Washington.
Well, that's not saying very much.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? They have the shiniest trash can on the block.
Hey, it's still a shiny trash can, though, Keith. Speaking of shiny trash cans, we got training camp coming up. Training camp opens in less than 2 weeks. I can't think of anybody better to break it down. I guess I got to start with Ben. Will he or won't he be at training camp, be on the team at the start of the season, and be traded?
Be dating a Jenner.
I didn't go there. And be traded. Answer any of those 3.
You know, that's a great question. I guess that's the $1 million question. He's not. I doubt if he'll be at training camp. You know, I mean, you hear the latest now where the 76ers are coming out saying, hey, if he doesn't show up, we're going to fine him, right? And basically, to me, that's saying that they basically know he's not going to be there, and they're trying to stay out in front of it. You know what I mean? Trying to stay out in front of it like, hey, look, it's nothing we did wrong. He just didn't show up. And you know, and then also, you know, teams posture, both sides. Like he postures saying, I'm not coming. Well, they're posturing and saying, if you don't come, you're going to get fined. Now, I do believe that if he does come, I think that they would really want him to leave because the circus right now, it's going to be a circus no matter what because everyone's going to keep asking, where's Ben, where's Ben, where's Ben? But if he comes and if he acts a certain way after a while, then it's just really going to be like what happened with James Harden and them. Now, I don't expect him to be on the season at the start. You know, I know the 76ers are saying otherwise. But when you look at the 76ers, if he doesn't want to be here, I mean, and you look, they're talking about Joel Embiid being in his prime. You know, I think in their best interest is just to move on right about now. Because, you know, the longer you wait to trade him, especially if he doesn't want to be here, the longer you wait, the more that you're setting yourself further and further behind the Brooklyn Nets, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Miami Heat, name any other team we think is going to be a contender. So I think it's in the best interest for the 76ers to basically cut it loose right about now.
But how do you do that? Forget that. I mean, his value is at his lowest at this particular moment, and every other general manager is licking their chops now, knowing that if you want Ben Simmons, now's the time to get him, especially if he doesn't show up at training camp. So if you're the Sixers, how do you make that trade now? Is this really another first-round pick that we're just going to cut our losses?
I mean, like I said this over and over again, you have to see, you know, you got to go to Portland and say, hey, can we get C.J. McCollum? I mean, you got to do whatever you can to get him.
You might only get Robert Covington at this point.
You know, I mean, yeah, but you know, but I think like the one thing about it, you're going to have to get a CJ or someone to make the salaries match. Now, again, if I'm Portland, they're probably saying, well, you're going to have to give me, you know, Maxey too, and maybe
that's
Matisse.
My concern. What you have to dump to get rid of Ben. Like it's not just getting rid of Ben or even getting value back for him. It's that you finally have some young guys who bring a little excitement that can actually dribble the ball on the team, and you're going to trade him away to get rid of the guy who can't dribble.
Yeah, and see, that's part of the problem when it comes down to holding on a little bit too long. You know, a lot of people want them. I feel like when they, during the draft, see, because on the draft, you can get a lot of different moving parts and stuff like that. I think that, you know, when it came down to it and they were asking for all these first-round picks, and, you know, you hear that some of that was because, you know, they wanted to get a third team involved and they wanted to be able to give this team, you know, said team maybe some draft picks for it. But I feel like when you ask for that, you kind of priced yourself out. And now it's like, you know, like we say, his draft value is low just because, you know, he didn't want to report. He's not reporting to training camp because he requested a trade. Now, but the thing is, from what I'm hearing, and I haven't been on the phone with anybody like this week asking questions, but from what I was hearing, there were a lot of teams still interested. They just didn't want to give up the James Harden prices or, something like that you would give for an MVP type candidate. They just didn't want to do it, So that's the thing.
Well, of course, everybody's interested if you can get something for nothing. I mean, that's the problem. Yeah, there's a lot of teams that are interested, but what do they have, or what do they even want to offer? And if they don't want to offer anything, can the Sixers find a way to repair this? I mean, I can't imagine having a worse off season than the Sixers have had.
I don't see how they repair it, though.
And it's everyone. I mean, look, it's even letting the clubhouse guy go. I mean, it just seems like every move the Sixers have made this off season has been a misstep.
But they have called you for tickets, so.
Well, way to call that out.
You getting them, Jeff? You getting them?
They want Jeff down there bad, Keith. He may rip him on the radio, but they want him there hanging out.
Yeah.
So
hey, man, money spins, right? Money talks, BS walks.
So I mean, what do you hear from the rest of the team? I mean, what is their mood? I know what we're hearing publicly. They seem the players, at least like Joel, are trying to say the right thing, but when it comes to the behind the scenes, the reporter work, and I want to talk to you about the difference between reports from a real reporter versus clickbait at some point, but what are you hearing or what are you seeing from the team as their mood about how this is going to resolve or how this is impacting them?
I mean, it's one of those things where, a lot of guys haven't been around, but, from what I hear, there's a lot of the unknown for a lot of people, So let's just say if you have a young guy who's a tradable asset, an asset that people really like, he's the type of guy that's saying, like, okay, am I going to be traded or not? I mean, it's just an uneasy situation for everyone because, you take a team, and as much as everybody talked about last year, initially this was supposed to be the year that the 76ers took a step forward. This was supposed to be the year that, they challenged for a championship. The second year under, the coaches, they can get some free agents, maybe not max type players, but they thought that they could bring in some people, make some trades. But now it's like you don't know what to expect, and you won't know anything until this is resolved. So, players have to be a little uneasy.
Do you think that the moves that they have made them just, if Ben stayed, the moves that they made, do they make them a better team? And do the young players, people like B-Ball Paul, are they going to have an impact on this team, or do you think that the Sixers see them as having an impact or just being bench players?
Well, here's the thing. If you tell me that as a backup center, I got Drummond, mm-hmm. right? And then you look at it, and Drummond is a little bit more disciplined ball player than Dwight, right? He's younger than Dwight.
Yeah, Dwight. So by the way, if Dwight were a football player, he would be on the Giants right now.
yeah, one of those. So I mean, and then you look at George Niang, and you have to compare him to Mike Scott. So you would have to say that that's an upgrade, right? That's an upgrade. You look at Maxey, and you see how Maxey has improved. Isaiah Joe showed you something. During the summer league where he can, come in and make shots. So you would say that team would be a contender. Now, again, that's if everything went right. You know what I mean? If Ben worked on his shot, if all this and all that, you would say that. But right about now, when you're not knowing, you say to yourself, like, are those two additions that they got, are they good enough to catapult this team to a championship? No. No. I mean, because no, it's not. So, but like if everything was right, you would say, okay, this team is going to be better because of continuity for the most part. Like if Ben played better, you would feel a little bit more confident about his performance. You would see a guy like Seth Curry, how he involved in the playoffs, and and showed that he could be a guy that they really can depend on in big moments, you would have to say yes. But the biggest unknown now is like you don't know because of the Ben situation.
Where is Matisse Thybulle at this point? Is his confidence level higher than it's been given his Olympics performance, his performance at the end of the season? Where's he at now?
I mean, yeah, his confidence has to be extremely high. I mean, the thing is, Matisse is the type of guy who, you always said all he needed was a summer to work on his shot and do things. I think this summer that he had was going to the Olympics, and let's face it, he played against some of the world's best players, especially Team USA. And it was one of those things where, it was like, well, I couldn't tell that this guy, struggled in the beginning of the season a little bit. Like, you can't tell me that he wasn't a starter on the Sixers. So, yeah, I think that really helped him out tremendously.
All right. I'm going to let Jeff get into this, but I'm going to introduce it because the other night I sent Jeff a text message.
Whoa. Before we get there, I do have one more actually
basketball
Sixers
question before we get to news stories.
So
okay.
if Maxi's the intended point guard, if Ben were to leave, if you were the general manager, what position do you think that they would, if they could get whatever position it was an equal player, what position do they most need if they trade Ben Simmons?
A point guard. I mean, they're still going to need a point guard. I mean, I like Maxey a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I like Maxey a lot. But at the same time, you need a point guard that's also going to be able to distribute. You need a point guard that's going to, either come in and be the starter or compete for the starting role. You need a different type of point guard than Maxey. Like right now, when I look at Maxey, and I like his game a lot, I do. But when I look at Maxey, he's trying to learn how to, and he's working on it, but how to be a pure point guard who can go out there and score and do the things that he does. But right now, when you have a team like with Joel Embiid as your feature player, when you have a team that has a shooter in Seth Curry and you have Tobias Harris and Danny Green, your number one role has to be get these guys the ball.
Yeah, distribute.
Right? And distribute. And when I look at Maxey, believe me, I love his game. And they said in this summer that he was going to work on that and he was going to do a lot of that. And he tried and he did. But we can't say that he wasn't a score first point guard when he was playing in the summer league. And I think that he can work. He can come in and he can do that quote unquote Shake Milton role, right? But I believe that honestly, right about now, that for Maxey, I feel like his best part or the best role for him is coming off the bench right now and being a change of pace. If you can go out there and get another point guard.
All right. So now,
you know what I mean?
Now I'm going to get to the news or clickbait question. You're a reporter's reporter. You've been doing this since before you had to sell a headline on the internet. It was the headline in the paper and the writer. So the other day, story comes out about the Rockets and John Wall agreeing to potentially have him move on from the team. And I sent it to Jeff. Now, I assume his assumption back was that, okay, the Sixers are just going to try and trade Ben Simmons, and I'm saying that. I wasn't. I just thought it was newsworthy. But his response back was, this is clickbait, and I'm not reading it. What is clickbait to you? Because there's sources in news all the time, and to me it was a legitimate story if both the Rockets and John Wall are kind of in agreement that they're going to move on from him, regardless of where he's going.
Yeah, I get it, but there's a lot of people who, what he says about clickbait, and I get it, there's a lot of people now who they just come up with stuff. You know what I mean? Now again, this is one of those things where I think it's easy to link it, but then there are certain people who are in their mom's basement, right? Or maybe in Costa Rica somewhere, chilling, drinking a drink, a refreshment, and they just throw up scenarios. You know what I mean? Without talking to people. And my thing is, you have to look at it, but you got to understand. I think a lot of people are thirsty right now. Everybody wants something to happen now, and that's why they call them. Now, before they used to say trade discussions or trade talks. Now it's called trade rumors because you can't decipher in the off season what's real and what's fake. Now I do agree with you. The John Wall thing is something that is like he's a named person, right? A named guy. So you go into that. But it's funny, like they didn't want him before, talking about Ben, and now it's like they want to go with a young guard tandem. So to me, I don't really know if they want him. And not only that, John Wall has a contract that some people are saying are untradeable.
Would you even want John Wall here?
I don't know, because I don't know.
Jeff shaking his head no, Keith.
Yeah,
no way.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is, when you talk about the money that he has and you have all this other stuff, we're talking about a pass first point guard. I mean, it has to be Embiid. It has to be Tobias. John can get his own shot. He can do this, but he's not really a good shooter. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, but there are some clickbait stories, though. I will say that.
Yeah, and Keith, I know you got to get off in a minute, but I just want to say, I've known you for a while, and one of the reasons that we ask this question is because I see how frustrating it is to talk to real reporters who, and if you could just give us 60 seconds of like what goes into a story versus just saying here's a trade rumor.
Well, let's just put it this way: when I did the story with Ben Simmons, I got a tip, and it was one of those things. I talked to the guy, and I'm like, "Oh, for real?" This and that. Well, the thing is, I contacted somebody else, and I said, "Did you hear this?" And then they said, "Oh yeah, I heard that too." And then all of a sudden, then you just start making the proper phone calls. That's what you have to do. Like, okay, prime example. I spoke to a reporter by the name of Tom Moore today. And Tom Moore is the guy who wrote the article where the Sixers said, hey, if he doesn't come, or a source close to the Sixers said, if he doesn't come, we're going to fine him, right? So next thing you know, there was an article that I read today that said Tom Moore said, and it was basically a quote about Tom Moore, his article Tom Moore wrote, but they kind of like paraphrased it, and it was basically like, he's going to be fined $308,000 per day, or something like that. So I called Tom. I'm like, yo, where'd you get that number from? And he says, Keith, I didn't write that. I said, huh? And he was like, nah. And I said, well, I thought there was an article I didn't know about. And he was like, nah, Keith, I didn't write that. I saw that on Twitter and was asking for advice what to do. I said, well, whoever tweeted it out, you have to tweet at the guy and like, yo, I didn't say this. But you understand what I'm saying? That was a guy doing clickbait,
So I could just make up some stuff that you said here on the air and cause you a headache for the rest of the day and night.
That's what people do.
Oh, man. See, that's what Eagles fans do.
Oh.
Hey, Keith, we're going to let you go. But before we let you go, prediction, Pitt versus Western Michigan tomorrow.
Pitt 35, Western Michigan 20.
There you go.
Better win that game.
All right.
All
Keith,
right, well,
great
Keith,
to catch up with you, man. Thank you.
All right, fellas. Thank you. Bye.
Jeff, so how do you feel?
About what?
Ben. That's
like are you my therapist? Hey, Jeff, how do you feel today?
Is there another issue that the Sixers have right now that's more important than resolving that?
No, the clubhouse attendant thing was pretty bad, but
everything trickles on from that. Who's on your roster? What the rotation?
He's
looks
one
like.
of your two superstars. Of course, you have to resolve this issue, and I don't know if I agree with Keith because unless they're not certain that Tyrese Maxey is the answer, I don't know how you trade Ben Simmons for another really good point guard, because then you have two starting point guards. To me, I think what you need is a shooting guard, or you need a small forward who, if they still use small forwards.
Do they exist in this league?
Exactly. You need a shooter. I don't think you need another passer. I mean, I think you do, but I don't think that's the biggest thing that you want out of this trade.
I think you're going to see a lot of rumors and a lot of clickbait
like if you
in the next 3
if you
weeks.
get C.J. McCollum, you're not getting him because he's a point guard. You're getting him because he can shoot.
You're getting
right?
him because the salary fits to move Ben.
Well,
That is not who they want in this deal. Let's be honest. They don't want him.
no, because they probably could have made that trade.
Yes,
by now.
they could have had him for months if they wanted to do that deal.
So do you think they're going to hold out, go into the season the way it is, and then say, can we get Dame Lillard if Portland falls out?
I wouldn't be surprised if they play chicken. I just don't think it's an effective strategy. It destroys your whole team.
I don't think Portland's trading him. For people that don't know, Lillard's entrenched in that community.
Keith mentioned something, though. Like, every day, reporters are going to be there asking these guys, what do you think about Ben? What do you think about
They're
Ben?
going to ask it, but they're going to ask it either way.
Well, not if he's gone.
Well, if he's traded.
It's a one-time question.
But I think what he
traded.
was talking about, they're going to ask it if he's in training camp or if he holds out of training camp.